All right, guys, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode, another show of Two Guys and a Bard. I am very happy to welcome back my fellow hosts, It's Fane and Super TCG. How are you guys doing tonight?
Amazing. Couldn't be better.
All right.
Doing pretty good. Getting adjusted to the solo parent schedule, but doing pretty good.
Yeah, so Super Wife is no longer around, at least for a little while, and yeah, we've got Super here. He's a little late to the.
You probably should have clarified that a little bit. That sounded a little bit worse than.
Yeah. No, I would hope you weren't here if Super Wife was gone, like gone.
She's fine. She's deployed. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. It's all according to plan. But anyway, so. For those of you who weren't in the stream earlier, didn't hear earlier, this is another thing that we have planned to do in the game, which is having a tavern night. And we are honestly hoping that Winstead was going to be leveled up here to level 3, so we can have it in the node itself. And any viewers, anyone on the server can come by and hang out. It unfortunately, the EXP gains are turned down a little bit, so we did not get that leveled up. So we found our own little tavern to have a tavern night in. Any viewers, anyone that wants to make their way up here can. We're having our tavern night, our first tavern night ever, in a jail, in Breakers Penitentiary, way up here. But we basically found this tavern out in the world, decided to make it our home, and Super is on his way. So he will be here soon, but we're having a good time, just hanging out. And I think we have a great show for you guys, I mean, as with always, we have nothing planned. So it could be a great show. It could not be, but, we're all long-winded. We all get along really well. We always find things to talk about. And I think with this week, it's just going to be insane. We've had so much going on. So I'm really looking forward to the show. Should be a great time. But let's start with the usual question. What are y'all drinking?
Let's start with Super. Let's get this out of the way. Let's start with Super.
God, I hate you so much. You're just so ready for all of this tonight, aren't you?
Prepared.
You're so ready.
God. You gave me so much shit today on stream. I'm just ready, man. Super. Let's go.
It's just all gonna come flooding back. Here it goes. I am drinking a nice, finely aged Coca-Cola tonight.
So what's going on there? I mean.
Well, I mean, being the only parent in the house and trying to be responsible, if anything goes wrong, then I need to be able to drive my daughter to the hospital. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I see how it is. I guess being responsible. I didn't have those parents, but I definitely knew some parents where both parents were just trashed at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, what's going on here?
All I heard was that Super's not going to drive us to the hospital, Bard. That's what I just heard of that.
Ooh.
He'll drive his daughter to the hospital, but we're on our own.
Yes.
All right. Well, what are you drinking, Fane?
So, guys, this is a repeat from last week. It's not exciting in the slightest, but this is the very last Corona in the fridge. I've got some wine up ready to go behind it, but the last Corona from the 4th of July celebrations, we're finally getting rid of it. Just want to get it out of my fridge.
Yeah. And I am drinking a gin and tonic tonight. I went down to the distillery this morning, had a bunch of stuff to get done there. We've got a big festival coming up this weekend. So yeah, for those of you, I won't be on until probably 7 or 8 p.m. on the weekend. Got to run the bars for our Jazz Fest. But I was down there, picked up a couple bottles of the gin because Bane had one, what was it? It's over a month ago now, and I've been craving it.
Yeah.
But also went to the grocery store, picked up some tonic and all of that. But it's just light and refreshing, and I feel like it's perfectly what I need after such a crazy weekend. Holy shit. All right.
What a crazy weekend.
So I've talked to Fane a lot, so I really want to hear Super's opinion here. What did you think of this weekend? What were your overall opinions?
Game sucks. It's never going to launch. No, I'm kidding.
It's all an MLM, and we need GPS meters.
Okay, the last one I can agree with, but no. I mean, the biggest thing that I think I've discovered both between the test that was a couple days ago and then the start today, is the kind of like main quest line, kind of the first time you do it, it's about 5-6 hours or so. Um, got like 60 different quest points that you got to do in it or something like that. Somebody within a couple people within Virtue did like a whole write up on it and everything like that, and it's in depth and massive. But honestly, out of everything, that's like the biggest takeaway for me is how much fun it is doing that quest. But overall, I feel like just the testing in general, that's more on the content side, but the testing in general has been, I think, fantastic. Last weekend, I rolled on Norlon, a little bit of a lower pop server. And this time around, we decided to roll on Lenneth. And I really haven't been able to tell much of a difference. And Lenneth is, I mean, as you guys know, being on Lenneth all the time, I mean, you guys have a ton of players over here. And to go from a low pop to a high pop server and there really not be any change in server performance, whether you're around a bunch of players or there's just a bunch of them on the server, whatever, everything seems to be running roughly the same. And for me, that kind of speaks a little bit to what the servers are capable of handling, and that any issues that we're seeing are things that can be fixed. It's nice to kind of see the disassociation that it's not related to the number of players on the servers, but it's just problems that all servers have. And that's a good thing because those can be fixed. If you guys kind of understand what I'm saying there, I'm sure I'm not explaining it well.
I totally get what you're saying.
Okay, awesome. But I mean, the test overall has been fantastic. The world, I mean, I've been testing for almost a year now, but I mean, the world is great. It looks really good. I really wish we had PvP turned on, but I also understand why they have it turned off. But overall, I am happier than I thought I would be. Because I know, as we had talked about it in the past, I had raised some concerns about, is there enough content? Is there going to be enough to kind of really tide somebody over for a month? And even though we're only on day one of the month, the testing schedule and the change to that makes a lot more sense with, I think, what they're going for. So all those things being considered, the things that they have added into the game just over the last 2 weeks, I do think it will be a really good month long, with breaks and updates and wipes and stuff, test. So that's my kind of quick summary on all that.
What I would say is I am a little disappointed we're not getting a persistent test with no wipes. I really like the idea of having real siege testing on the server where your effort put in to level and get gear would matter within the siege testing. I understand why it is. And I think that's something I do want to distinguish, and I'd love to get your guys' opinion on this. And it's something, I had some comments on my recent YouTube video, and they were getting upset that I said that I was a little upset, or, I was having feelings. I wasn't, I was a little disappointed that this was not the case.
Deep in my feelings.
Yeah, I was deep in my feelings. I had feelings about this. And I was like, I'm still supporting this game. There's nothing wrong with being, I wish it were something different. Right? There's nothing wrong with saying that and having those feelings. Like, to me, that's completely fine. And that's, constructive. It's good to address your feelings. If you just be like, nope, like, even if you had those feelings, push them down. Don't let anyone know about them. It's like, that's really unhealthy. And that's not a good way. Oh, I saw someone. Is that Super? Is that Super?
Super good here.
And he's here.
Oh my God.
Cheer. Oh, whoa, you just teleported in, but
so yeah, I can't hang out with dwarves. Sorry, guys.
Oh, bye. Too bad we can't turn off. Can we turn off PvP? Nope, PvP is off. We can't just gank the crap out of you.
Here, I'll stand over here so it looks like we're the same height.
There we go. But yeah, so what are your opinions, and how do you think is the proper way to express emotions when it comes to this testing? Your expectations versus reality. And this comes into on launch too, right? A lot of us have set this game to a really high standard. We think, we think it's going to be the next big thing. We have these desires we want out of the game, and there's a good chance we're not going to get everything we're thinking. What is the appropriate way to do that? Oh, and of course, right as we get up here, it turns to a thing.
I think the podcast was the last bit of note experience that we needed to really level that one up.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Sorry, Bart. Hold on. You asked a question and I was very much in my emotions right there.
Okay. Yeah.
How do we deal with our emotions when we see these things that are disappointing, especially in game development? That was the question,
yes,
right?
Yeah. Especially in game development, especially as I said, we're gonna moving forward, we're gonna have certain pushbacks. We're not gonna have dates met, I don't think. We've already had pushbacks. I just assume that's gonna happen again. And what is the proper way to go about it?
I think you really have to as a player, as a tester, as a content creator, as a fan, whatever level you are involved with the Ashes community, I think you really have to look at things and say, okay, I get why they're doing this. And you have to constantly come from that place of reason. And people will be bummed out, and people can be bummed out. But I think that the concept is, okay, this is the reality of the situation. We're not getting a full month. I was actually thrilled by it, but we'll get to that in a second. But you just say, we're not getting a full month right now. That's fine. We're getting these like 4 and 5 day long tests. How do I work with that? That means that I need to be doing X during this time and Y during this time. I need to be making YouTube videos on the day off. I need to be streaming on the days on. And I think that that's a really important kind of takeaway is understand that, if you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, you can get upset at them for cutting you off. But at the end of the day, this is the new situation. So you now need to make some space, don't ride them, avoid the accident, because getting really emotionally tied up in a situation that you're just not in control of could be a really big issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's being constructive within it. I mean, the way that I like to kind of approach these different things is we actually had a conversation, unrelated but similar circumstances, where in the Virtue Discord today, and it's one of those things where it's kind of like trying to kind of temper your expectations a little bit just going into anything. It sounds like a very strange concept, but going through life without expectation is one of those things that really helps temper those emotional reactions. And I don't say that to be like, oh, just be a robot, don't feel emotion. It's just one of those things where it's like, allow yourself to be pleasantly surprised than horribly let down. And react to it accordingly. But if something does come up and it's like, okay, that kind of perturbs me a little bit, and what I like to do is I like to kind of open it up for discussion. I like to be like, I like to, whether it be guildies or you guys, or be like, hey, this happened and this is like kind of frustrating. Here's my thoughts on it. I'd love your guys' feedback, because maybe you'll be able to give me a different perspective that I wasn't able to see it from, to help give it a little bit more of an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And so having the conversation, allowing other people to join in on it, get different perspectives, basically, recognize the emotion, because again, you're not a robot, you're going to have emotion, but recognize the emotion, take a step back and go, okay, how is this? Why did they do this? Did they do this for a reason? Okay. Even if we can't figure out the reason, what can I now do? I mean, kind of like what Fane was saying, with this very specific example of, the difference between the month-long persistent and what they're doing. Okay, this presents an opportunity for stream days, editing days, stream days, editing days, different types of content throughout it. And I think that that's a fantastic way to look at it, because you're finding, the silver lining essentially, rather than just going, crap, I need to go edit this video, but I really want to stream. It's like, well, now Intrepid is now forcing you to go edit that video. So,
I mean, I will say, like, what I did this weekend was unsustainable. Like, I'd stream for 12 hours, go to bed, wake up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, edit videos, get them uploaded, and then go right back to streaming.
I love Fane's face on that. Like,
I guess he went to bed. Hey, but I did it all 3 days, Fane. You weren't there the last day.
You want to go hour for hour, Bard? I was there.
Oh.
I was there before you on Sunday. I was there before you, technically.
Technically. Kind of, yeah.
Kind of there.
I bet you we have similar hours for the weekend, to be honest.
I would believe that. Honestly, I would believe that. And if
Yeah.
I wasn't shooting for something very specific,
Mhm.
I would have definitely done what you did, is just put in a lot of big days, get a little sleep, and just really enjoy it. Because it was a super fun experience.
So much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I just had so much fun this weekend, and like I kept being like, I'm so tired, but I gotta keep going. I just want to keep going, you know. And yeah, I mean, I definitely had stuff I wanted to do on Monday, and I got like nothing done. I woke up in the morning at like 7 a.m. I was like, screw this, I'm going back to bed. Slept for like another hour or two. Finally got up, and just like my brain was just like, no, shut down. I got a few things done, and then was just like, I'm just gonna like kind of game and just like zone out. But I do want to go back to something Super said, and it's the going through life with no expectations kind of deal. And I know what you're saying. You're not like, keep your expectations lower than what you think is going to happen. I'm the exact opposite. I don't really believe in that, as long as you can handle disappointment. There's nothing wrong with being disappointed, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with being upset about how things turned out. It's how you deal with that, right? It's like how many freaking rap songs are there that are out there? It's like, well, it's not about how much you're beat down. It's about how many times you get back up again. And it's kind of that aspect to a degree. But I think it depends on the person, right? I think it really depends on figuring out who you are as a person and how you handle things. So if you get drastically upset and emotional over something, then yeah, probably set your expectations a little lower versus the opposite, where like, to me, I am completely fine with just, being disappointed. I want to set expectations. I want to get excited about things. That's what I enjoy. And allowing myself to do that is worth the disappointment if it doesn't happen personally.
So it's very nuanced. I to be clear, I am very excited about Ashes.
Mhm.
And this goes into more of more of a just chatting life advice type of a topic, but the idea of kind of going through life without expectation. I know kind of, and the response that you had to that, Bart, is very, I mean, standard for, and it's not exactly that. It's more because it's not about like going through life and just being like, oh, whatever fucking happens. Like, oh, here it is. Like, you still try to tool things to end up in your favor. You still try to, be proactive and have things turn out the way you want it to turn out. It's more so when those things happen, it's like, okay, boom, this is the next step I need to take. This is what I need to do now. And it's the same thing that we're doing with Super Kid. I mean, the first day with Super Wife being gone, she was like, I miss Mama. And it's like, I understand. I miss Mom. I miss Mom too. And, but here's the next day. Here's what we do. We continue forward. We don't get hung up on these things. We press forward. And it's more of a kind of a long-term sustainability of life, rather than just kind of building up to one moment and being happy or let down by that moment.
Yeah.
So, life advice segment over, but yeah.
Super dad being the best dad. That's what it is.
I'm trying,
Best
man.
dad in A.
I'm trying.
I think that's an important thing, right? Like, these things are going to happen. I know Bardic was very disappointed, as was I, when we really expected this month long to come out in March was the original plan. And, we got into that testing December and February, and it was like, it's not happening. And it you lick your wounds, you take your blows, and then you move on. And I think the difference between somebody who does great and somebody who just does okay in whatever they're trying to succeed are the people that can take those blows and get back up. You see the news, you're allowed to sit there, have 5 minutes where you're really sad about it. And then when you're done, say, okay, how am I responding to this? If if you just sort of throw in the towel like a lot of people did, and I'll give a perfect example. When this content creator program came out, there were a ton of people that were streaming so hard for like 2 straight weeks. They were going 12 hours a day. They weren't really talking Ashes, but they were just live in the category. And I think that they thought, I'm going to be a content creator. I don't see any of those people now. And I think that
Mhm.
that's because they just gave up. They said, okay, well, I didn't get it. So now I need to go somewhere and lick my wounds versus those that kind of put in the work constantly and make it for the long term.
Yeah, and it's like any other business content creation, right?
Mhm.
It's content creation is work, guys. This is not just like some people hit it lucky. Yes, some people do just hit it lucky, especially like earlier on. They just kind of fell into it. They were doing it for fun. And then suddenly they're just like, oh shit, this like I'm making a bunch of money doing this. Some people do that. That's very few people. That's one in millions. Versus people who have done it and have gotten big off of it. They're working hard. They're making it work. And I mean, it's like anything in life. You don't just get good at something. You practice, you work hard at it, and you keep trying to improve. And I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. I see a lot of streamers that don't even talk about how to get better. And it's like, have you ever been in a professional environment before? Like when I was a craft cocktail bartender, when I was doing sales and marketing, as of some of you know, I've never been to a gaming convention. It's never been my job before. I've been to every kind of liquor convention out there. Been to wine conventions. I've been to craft cocktail conventions. I mean, I have done all of that. And that's how I got good at what I did, was taking it seriously, analyzing the science behind it, and just trying different things until you figure it out. And I think that's very much what Ashes of Creation is doing as a new development studio. I think
Mhm.
that's kind of, I mean, they have made mistakes. No one will deny that. There have been
Yeah.
mistakes made by Intrepid. That's completely fine as long as they learn from them and keep getting better.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think an important note to that, and I'm glad you said it because that's where mine was going, just kind of wrapping this back around to Ashes and Intrepid.
Yeah.
Um,
Always try to bring it back in.
yeah. But that's one of the things that, and so the kind of a two-part thing here. As a community, we need to allow those mistakes to happen.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We need to be, I mean, don't get me wrong, if it's a big mistake, we need to be vocal, we need to let them know, we need to be like, yo, this wasn't ideal, APOC. But we but as a community, allow that to happen. And that's a space within the internet. Like the internet just doesn't do that. So I
Yeah.
understand wanting to make sure everything is perfect and ready to go. But as a community, we need to allow that. We need to allow them space to make mistakes because they
Mhm.
are a new company. Steven has not done this before. This is all brand new. Going from a gamer to a developer, it might seem like a linear path, but it's not. It's not even on the same. It's not even in the same book, let alone the same page. Um, and one of the things that I have appreciated from very early on, in the Alpha Zero testing, like the very very early Alpha Zero testing, all the way through till now, is I at no point, I'm thinking about it here real quick, but I'm fairly certain at no point have I gotten the impression that there's really anything trying to be hidden. They have been pretty straightforward with what's going on. Some of the communication could have been better, and we talked about that last week a little bit. Um, but I don't necessarily feel like they're trying to hide behind anything.
Yeah.
They're open about their mistakes. They want the feedback on it, and that is how you grow. I mean, the line that I used ad nauseum in being a GM or a raid lead to anybody that I was in charge of or anything like that is, let me know if I'm doing something wrong, because if I don't know I'm doing it wrong, I can't fix it.
And that brings up
And
a great point, and this is something we had this discussion at Axiom. That's what I brought up. It is what is the proper response to failure? And the one thing I said is there's a lot of different ways to deal with problems, right? It depends on the group, it depends on the person. but there are definitely wrong ways to handle it. One, explosive outbursts. There, like that is not like that is never gonna be an acceptable way to handle disappointment or failure. However, even worse than that, in my opinion, is ignoring it. That's when things fester. That's when things become toxic and just slowly spread until it becomes a boiling point. And I think ignoring a problem, not even talking about how, yes, I was disappointed about this, but here's the rationale I'm coming from, and I can move on from this, I think is more important than just saying, we'll just sweep that under the rug. And that's where we're getting to the white knight aspect, right? And that's where suddenly we're in this white knight aspect, like, no, nothing's ever wrong. No, I'm never disappointed. Everything's perfect. And it's like, no, I think it's very important to be open and talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you need to be open, right? And Intrepid needs to, use this specific example, they need to understand when they messed up and what the community response to that was. And at the same token, we need to understand where they're coming from, what their
Mhm.
situation is, and have a little bit of insight. Because even though this is a transparent development, and it is more transparent than any development I've ever seen, it's not the world's most transparent thing. Things still get caught up. People still make inferences, make judgments, and Intrepid's not here to give you all the information until they're ready to give it to you. And when they are ready, it is still earlier than any other company's given it to you in the past.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean that's one of the things is definitely if they're gonna do this open development cycle, they need to keep very open lines of communication. And
Mhm.
overall, they've done an exceptional job. There have been a few times I've been like, "All right, guys, like we needed a bit more than this."
It's a
Um,
little disingenuous. Steven says like, "Oh, we'll announce the Alpha 1 dates at the end of the fall, towards the end of fall." And it was literally the last day that was technically fall before it became winter. We
yeah,
got that mail. And then it's like, "Oh, and it's going to be ready here by March." And it
yeah.
I don't know. And here's the question, right? And I think this is the question a lot of the community asks is, and let's talk about this specifically. You're going to test in December, you're going to test in February, and then boom, we're in the cycle we're in now in March. Is that wanting to appease the masses, or is that actually not having a firm understanding of the state your game is in?
Um, I guess I think so. This stuff is very common, and like I've done a couple other alpha tests, not a huge amount. By no means am I a super experienced tester, but I've seen this in most other alpha games. I
Mhm.
think the code is in such an early state that it seems like things are going well, and then suddenly it's just not. Um,
Yeah.
So I definitely think there's a large part of that. And then like especially like the AI controller issue, right? That was like one thing. Once they identified and got that fixed, it was just like a switch. It's like that's better. So he's like sitting there like, okay, we can get this. We're so close to getting this. Yeah, we can do this. And then unfortunately, if it comes to the date and it's not fixed, it is like a oh shit, like, a week or less than that before, like, yeah, we're not going to be able to do this, guys. So um I think it's a combination of both. I think Steven overall is a very optimistic person. You can just see it in his personality in terms of what he thinks is possible. And I think that's why we have what we have as in terms of the vision and the game. Um, will he be able to measure reality? Will he be able to do it? That's I will say seeing the bones of this game, the base, the bottom level of that pyramid is is looking really good. So I have faith that they can get it done. And we'll just have to. It's kind of that wait and see aspect.
Well, I think you kind of alluded to it, maybe without realizing, but I I can't tell you a single alpha test that I've ever been in where the timing has been exactly to what the initial email was. Um, and whether it be delayed by a weekend, delayed by a week, delayed by a month, um, there's always a delay. And it was what I was telling people when the Alpha 1, when they reopened Alpha 1, and I heard people were taking off, like, oh, I'm going to take off Friday. That way I can like test all day Friday. And I told everybody, I'm like, don't take time off. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Save that vacation day for when, if you want to save it for gaming, I understand. That's fine. Save it for like beta or launch or something like that. But like, don't mess around with that stuff in alpha, because it's not going to come out the exact day and time that it needs to. I think one of the things that we as a community, because of the transparent production essentially that is going on here, is we are, and we being the collective, we, everybody who has eyes on Ashes, we are actually seeing the impact of the delay.
Mm-hmm.
All of this information that we have, the only reason why people know there is a delay is because people who are not under NDA are able to see the proposed schedule. They're able to hear about it by people who are able to talk about it. And now that we can stream the game, they're able to see it as well. You don't get that in other alpha tests, but I promise you it happens. And so just because it's happening with Ashes, honestly, if it wasn't happening with Ashes, I would be concerned that there was more stuff going on and he was just making polished builds. He being, Steven, but all of Intrepid was making just polished builds that he's showing off. If we were seeing something polished, I would be concerned about the development, because we're in early alpha. There are supposed to be problems. There are supposed to be server crashing problems. There are supposed to be, like, if I don't see those things, I'm actually concerned, because then I feel like I'm just getting kind of the veil thrown over my eyes, and I'm getting like a promotional beta or an alpha preview week. Like, all of these things that you've heard other, game developments and game titles do. And so this is what it is, guys. You wanted open development. I mean, they promised it and you wanted it and you've pushed for it. Here it is. This is what it is.
So you brought up an interesting point, and that is that when we say Steven, we often mean Intrepid and the team, because it's not always Steven. So I do just want to clarify, and I've actually tried to make a concerted effort, especially in my YouTube videos, to not always just refer to Steven is doing this, because we do need to appreciate that this is much more than Steven. And that's part of it, is humanizing the entire team. There are a bunch of people working really hard at this. And, so that's when your explosive criticism and like non-actual criticism, you're affecting an entire company of people. You're hurting like 100 people who are working their asses off to try and get this project done. So I would like to, I think us as content creators should try to make an effort in general to refer to it as Intrepid is doing this in the future. And I know it's not, it's because he's the face of the company, because of how front facing he is. It's very easy to fall into that cadence. But I would definitely say, hey, us as content creators should make this concerted effort from now on. And also understand, anytime we do say Steven, we do mean all of Intrepid. But anyway, with that said, I think we've talked about this enough. We've covered that. What I would think would be a good idea is let's move. We've talked about what's happened in the past, what we've seen. We've talked a little bit about expectations. So what would you guys like? What are you guys thinking the timeline is now moving forward? What would you like to see? What do you think their next steps should be? How about that?
Ooh.
Man, you just gotta drop a question like that on us.
Yeah, that's definitely a big one. So next steps.
That's how we do.
I mean, I don't think we're all the way there on Alpha 1, right? No. And I think that we're gonna see more spot testing throughout September, late August, September, maybe even into October. If, and this is the big, the elephant in the room, if we can get things looking good by the time maybe mid-October rolls around, I think then in late November, early December, we might be looking at not Alpha 2, but an announcement of Alpha 2. And once the Alpha 1, everything they want to get tested in Alpha 1, these base systems are in place, we've maybe gotten another class, we've maybe started to see the base level of some naval stuff in the game. I think that's when we're going to start looking, because right now, it's been alpha 1, alpha 1, alpha 1. Everyone's focused on alpha 1. We're there now. We're doing it. And so if you give us, July, August, September, maybe a little bit of October, you give us about 4 months, I could definitely see us early next year, early 2022, being prepared to tackle alpha 2 and being able to get that persistent test up. Because once the servers are up, and once you have this persistent test, you can plug in content. You plug in ships, you figure out where they break, you fix that up, you try it again. Once the ships stop breaking, you put in more quests, you put in more classes, you start putting in a fully fleshed out artisan system, and you really can start adding this in piece by piece, layer by layer. And I think that the iterative process is going to be so fast. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked by that.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing, right? And that's really what made me like, after I was like, oh shit, we're not getting this month-long test. We're not really getting much new content for this test. I was like, oh crap, man, this sucks. And then I was like, well, you know what? I already realized this. Like, yeah, they have a lot of content. Just because we've been testing and kind of bottlenecked on the server side of stuff, that does not mean the rest of the team is just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. I've already heard that Bacon has like terabytes upon terabytes of environmental data. Like, I've heard that a lot of the outside world in other builds is already fully populated. Like, they have done so much work. They're not just sitting there waiting for the AI controller issue to be fixed to get stuff done. No, that stuff is already done. They have so many different builds that QA is probably in constantly testing and doing different things with. So yeah, I think they're taking the smart approach in really focusing on getting the base state really strong before they start adding in all this content.
Yeah. And I think that's the smart way to go about it, right? Is have the other stuff so that it's just plug and play. Here's this build. Okay, it's stable. We move on to this build. We move on to the next build. And I think that the speed at which you can iterate, I mean, if we put in um crafting or some sort of artisan system and it is terrible and it literally creates a bug as bad as the AI controller, and it takes us another 6 months to fix just this one bug, then yeah, I think that we need to start saying, okay, how do we salvage something out of this game? But if they can iterate and the things are quick bug fixes and they can identify the problems quickly, that'll be, I mean, the iterative process is going to be huge.
Yeah. And so moving forward, one thing I talked about this a little bit earlier with Thane, and I would love to get your opinion, Super. I would like to see some small quality of life improvements. I know that shouldn't be the focus of the test. The player experience is not the focus, but it
It's
is
still
in the
important with testing,
yes,
though.
it's in the public eye right now. So I think getting some of this stuff will really help keep people more involved. And the two things I said would be really important, really awesome to see are party invites and kicks through chat, and then a corpse, like a corpse location. Um, I think those two things would make a drastic difference in my player experience. And I'm sure there's a lot more. And actually, what I'm thinking about doing is doing a video which asks everyone, what are your quality of life improvements? And getting everyone to post the comments. And then, I mean, I'm sure Intrepid will see them, but sending those over to Stephen and Margaret. And so they can look at the things the community is actually requesting and then choose some of them to start implementing that they think are fairly easy to do. What do you think about that, Super?
So at the current stage of the development cycle, any of the quality of life stuff, and I would have to really kind of think about it a little bit here. But any of them that I would say would have any kind of justification on being implemented at this stage, because you're right. I mean, the quality of life isn't the primary focus, but instead of saying quality of life, I would maybe say quality of testing. Um, and making sure that, we're there are testers testing the game, and we need to make sure that it's not just a total pain in the ass to test. The more, I don't want to say fun, but I, just kind of the more accessible, the more ease of access kind of approach to testing you have, the easier time people have to give feedback. Once they, like, for example, once they moved the bug reporting to primarily in game, I think that was big.
Mhm.
It allowed people to just stop playing, report the problem, move on, rather than, I mean, like what I did is I made a list and then afterwards went over to the forum, posted it over there, and it adds extra steps, and so those are the types of quality of life things. Um, but to the party invite thing you were talking about, I think I like how you're standing on the table now. Um,
Oh, just you wait. It's gonna get worse.
um, I can tell you're really, really listening to me. Um,
I am. I can do multiple things. I can do multiple things, including taking off my clothes while listening to you.
Get your clips ready, everybody. Bard's getting naked. But to the party invite thing, I think being able to invite people to a party, regardless of where they are on the map, would be a pretty decent testing or quality of testing experience.
Mhm.
Because the way it is right now is they have to be right next to you. You have to be able to
Yeah.
click on them, right click them, invite them. And so, whether they decide to do that through chat or, I mean, that would be the way to do it, / invite name. So the corpse thing, that's actually funny you bring that up because we were talking about it in Virtue Discord. I was like, man, I kind of wish like I could see my last like death location or something like that.
Mhm.
Because if I drop half my resources, I'd like to be able to go back and get them. And in the past, there has been a tombstone that you can see. I think I don't know if it's just been straight up removed or I just have not seen it in a really long time. Um, but that one to me is like, okay, I think that one can kind of wait. Again, just my opinion here, but I think that one can wait. But I think the invite thing, I think that would be something that would kind of be a little bit more of a, hey, let's get that introduced a little bit sooner. Um, but, and the big caveat and but to all of it is testing. Uh, any other testing I have done in the past has not even had at this stage has not had this level of quality of life in it already. Um, so I'm probably not the best person to ask specifically what things, because I feel like I have most of the things that I wanted out of those other games that I've tested. But the party invite thing is weird. It would be nice, especially for the siege side of stuff, if the raid frames worked a little bit better. And they have actually fixed that over the last couple of weeks here.
It's
If you guys
gotten better.
remember, it's
Yeah.
gotten a lot better. I would like some raid frame customization. But that's also something that I don't think necessarily needs to come in an alpha. And when I say customization, I mean being able to kind of drag people and put them in the appropriate groups, just so you can kind of split people up by group. Um, so I to generally answer your question, I think as long as it pertains to testing and making the testing experience better for the testers, and by better I mean allows them to either give feedback in a more efficient manner or allows them to test a specific thing in a more efficient way. Those types of things I would agree with. Anything that's just kind of like, hey, I mean, we memed on this a little bit about 2 months ago, but hey, the mini map isn't clean. It's like, okay, well, you can go ahead and get the fuck over that. Like,
Yeah.
It's all placeholder. Calm down.
And just yeah, so sorry to derail this, but I do actually want to bring up what Zadora in chat said, and this goes back to the communication issue. Margaret was in Zillin's chat earlier today and hinted at the possibility of small content updates this month if servers check out. In my opinion, they could be upfront with us with that. They could just say, we're really focused on the servers. We do have some content ready, but it all depends on how stable the servers are or how well things are going. That way, like, they are letting us know what is in their mind. Because this idea right now of content is not the focus. Well, we get the content is not the focus, but give us a little bit more than that, in my opinion. And that's just like and that's my opinion. I could be very wrong. That could completely backfire on them when they tell us that, and then things aren't going as well as they would like, and they don't introduce any new content, and then we sit there and complain about how they're not meeting their dates or meeting their our expectations. So it's both sides, but I think personally, if they were a little more upfront and rather than hinting or doing in one chat, they just made an announcement. Here's our overall plan for this test. They used to do, what was it called? The content letters or something. They used to constantly do like a full letter. Steven still does it every once in a while with the creative director letter, but it would be nice that every week they put out basically, here's where we're at, here's where our mindset is, here's what we're looking forward to trying to do in the future, depending on getting this kind of stuff done. What do you guys think about that? Getting a weekly update?
I think that we should 100% have that. And it's I do want to say one thing on what Super said when he kept saying,
Yeah.
like the quality of life for testers. I think that the big thing there is the retention of the testers and making
Yeah.
sure that the testers aren't bored. Because if it's like it feels bad to log on and test, a certain percentage of these people, and we've seen it in all of our communities, I know this for a fact, will fall off. If they're not creating content, they'll get bored with the content that's there because they don't really feel like they're helping. And this kind of goes to the question that Bard's asking. I would love to see patch notes on a
Mhm.
weekly basis. The patch for this game, this is what we worked on, even if it's generalized like back end stuff, this stuff, this stuff. But if you're like, hey, we continued this quest, you can now continue it. Hey, you can keep pushing forward with this. So that way I can look at that and I can say, do I need to go try this quest out because maybe they fixed it? Or do I need to not deal with that because it's a bug, it's a known bug, they're working on it, they'll finish it when they finish it. And really look, because I think as a good tester, you can really look at what they worked on and say, okay, I'm gonna go break it now. They think they fixed it, I'm gonna go break it. And we can focus our areas there because there isn't direction. There isn't a lot of direction in testing now. It's log on, run through the world, do your quests, do kind of whatever you feel like doing. And I think a lot of people are getting to the point, the people that aren't taking this as a serious test are getting to the point of burnout with content. They're burnt out with the game of where the game is now. And they're starting to feel that. And knowing where they're working on and what the roadmap is for content could really help, I think, a lot of people.
Leave me alone. I'm hiding from the naked dwarves. All right, leave me alone. I'm crying in the corner. There's no slash cry emote.
I agree with you, Fane, and that's the issue, right? So they're doing something completely new here. They're doing something with this open development, and this isn't a bunch of alpha testers. No one's being paid. So there do need to be incentives to keep people in the game, to keep people testing. And how are you going to do that? Well, that's content updates, seeing changes and all of that. So, I think they also did it right in what they've done in terms of how they released it, because they saw the fall off. They open up new alpha packages. There's enough demand and hype. People buy into the alpha. You get an influx of people. You get more testers. So they're really riding that ups and downs of getting new testers in right now. But how do we do it moving forward, especially with all the public eye on it now? You need to start introducing content to keep people involved.
So I'm gonna jump in right there because I heard Fane say that as well. We are not in a content testing cycle of this testing cycle. As much as I want to be able to log in and experience something somewhat new on maybe a weekly basis, something like that, we're not there yet. Like it's just when I had brought up in the past about like, do we have enough content to go into a month-long test? It was more from a baseline standpoint, not from a constantly introducing more and more stuff as time goes on. So I agree to a point, but with where we are in testing, we're not really testing content. I mean,
No,
I understand that.
100%.
Half of the island that we are currently testing is more than, to my understanding, has a high probability of not actually even being in the game. So a lot of the stuff that's being developed is just kind of giving. I think the really long, for example, the really long quest line that we have, I think that's kind of giving them a roadmap of what a really long quest might look like, how different points play into each other, how different quests interact. Okay, we need to make sure we have quests here because it ties in with this area that the main quest goes to. So I think they're getting a lot of different stuff like that. But and I know you guys, understand, but I think we have to be careful with saying that there's not enough content.
Well, I never said there was not enough content. So before you interrupted me, where I was going with that is, we're not in content testing. I don't think they have enough content to, keep people constantly coming back. So how do you go about this now with things in the public eye in terms of keeping people involved, keeping people from being burned out? So that was where I was going in terms of, this is not a content test. So you need to introduce content to keep people involved. Well, if you're not going to do that, because that's not where we're at in this testing, but we're in the public eye now and people are seeing this. So this burnout is going to affect things within the game. It's going to affect people coming back and checking it out. Obviously, when they do a big content push, we're still going to get a lot of people coming back. But how do you keep people involved throughout that process if it's not through content, I guess? So what I was trying to say is, how do we propose, what other solutions do we have now that we're in this? And once again, if we weren't in the public eye, it would be fine if there was some fall off. But if we get some pretty drastic fall off in the terms of people start saying, oh, they're not really getting anywhere, because I saw it constantly in the couple months we were testing before this NDA drop, where people were getting frustrated and complaining. And how do you keep that from basically snowballing, right? From just like setting a seed and just spreading until it's just this huge toxic community about, oh, nothing's getting anywhere, this game is going to fail, all this other stuff. Because the positivity, the culture we have is as important as the successful game.
Well, and that's kind of the issue, and to kind of iterate upon what Bard said is, we had 10,000 testers. Before 2018, we had 10,000 A1 packs sold. We don't have 10,000 people. So they said, okay, let's open it back up again. We now have essentially infinite testers. They have not shut down these $500 packs. You can go buy them. I saw people today buying them, getting into the test for the first time and experiencing it. That being said, the fact that they're selling this means they're not pulling the numbers that they need for accurate testing. So what can you do to keep your current testers engaged? Because I'm engaged. I know Super's engaged. I know Bard's engaged. We're not talking about anyone in this group right here. What can we do to keep people coming back and keep them testing while this is all going on? Because I feel like we are having a major issue with people getting in, and I've seen it. I know you've seen it in Virtue. I know we've seen it in Axiom. People bought it. They played the alpha for a weekend. They said, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And they haven't shown up to a test since then.
They're not they're not testers. Like that.
Well,
that's where my head goes. And it's
100%
not
agreed.
It's not a slight to anybody who has that approach, but this happens in closed alphas. This happens. I mean, I say open alphas like that's a thing, but in Ash's open alpha, that just happens within testing. And I understand what you guys are alluding to, that there kind of needs to be things to kind of hook people. But I think one of the things, and I think we will see it as time goes forward. I think we're in a very weird spot right now where we're talking about this because the server stability, the server has just become stable. Mm-hmm. And so all of these things couldn't have been implemented really until now. But the main thing here for me in all of the testing is, if you want to show up for a weekend, kind of play for a day, that's your only motivation, don't waste the $500. You're not going to get your $500 worth out of it. And the reality is Intrepid is not going to get good feedback from you. So if you want to go in and you want to test and you want to be a part of that testing process, it is more of a job than it is playing a game. Now, different from you and Bard, Fane, you were just saying because all three of us in here are motivated to be in there and testing. You guys have content creation motivation. I'm not necessarily doing the content creation side. I'm motivated as a tester because I enjoy testing. I've been testing for years, different games, and I know you guys have as well in different titles. But not having, I think I could speak just a little bit more directly to it, just because I don't have an additional thing kind of pulling me to do it. I'm not creating content out of it besides this show, really. And it, it takes a particular, I don't want to say person, but I guess maybe mindset to go into testing and understand that you are going to create the same character over and over again. You are going to deal with wipes. You are going to do all of those things. And I understand. And I'm not saying that approach is necessarily like the end all be all. I do think that there needs to be stuff over time that gets introduced into the testing to allow people to come back. But I think the natural flow of a testing cycle looks like this. You have your month-long test. Maybe at the last week of the month-long test, something big gets introduced. That's a big little content spurt. You get a lot of people to come back. My theory is that Ranger is going to be kind of brought in the last week of testing.
I'm calling a shot right now.
Yeah, random thought. Yeah, that the Ranger's going to come in the last week of this month long. That's going to get a huge influx of people coming back, and they're going to be able to test a ton of stuff with all of those people. Those are the hooks. Those are the things. And so as we move on to Alpha 1 test, 1.2, have another big content update into it. And you have those are the hooks. Those are the things that keep people coming back. But as far as really long persistent testing, you might retain 2% of the total Alpha 1 keys that have either been bought or given out. And that includes the people who are creating content as well. That is just the nature of the beast. It's not a release game. Everything you're doing is for naught, except for the benefit of the development of the game. It doesn't benefit you in any particular way. It doesn't benefit your character in game in any way, because that's going to get wiped. And so going into it, if you don't have a good head around what testing is, it's not going to be that.
I agree with you on the base. Go ahead, Bard, and then
I was going to say, asking this question, I already had a thought process that I thought would help. And I wanted to see if you guys had anything as well. But what I think it comes down to is communication and setting goals. Right now, there's no real goals with the testing. We've had a little bit of it, and Steven has done a pretty decent job with, organizing things or telling people to go do stuff. But it's that idea, right? When you're in a guild and the guild has a goal with something they want to go do, something they want to get down, you just go and you do it, even if it's hours and hours and hours of grinding, right? So what I would say is I would like to see Steven give us more direction. Here's what we're testing. Not just here's what we're testing. Here's where we're seeing problems. Go break it. Or a lot of people were getting upset that I was making these world first videos on that hidden ember dragon or hidden fire dragon. And the goal of that was to set people ablaze, give them something to do. That was literally my goal with that. I was like, we discovered this. This is what it's going to take to get this dragon down. Everyone needs to go do the quest, farm up a bunch of mats, get their attunement, and then we're all going to come together as a group and get it down. Because I looked at that dragon immediately when I saw it and saw the million health and all of that. I was like, I don't think there's a single guild, maybe Envious, could get this down by the end of the test. Probably not. And Steven did come in and organize us all. But with these longer tests, if he sets it out, hey, we really want to test this dragon or this quest or whatever. And I know we don't have a lot of that right now. But I would say moving forward, as you add content in, I would say go into it with that expectation so you can set this overarching goal that people can actually work towards and feel like they're really helping out too. This, sandbox games are great for certain people, but a lot of people need direction. And in a sandbox game, the direction comes from the guild. And right now, that direction needs to come from Intrepid. So in my opinion, I would like to see a little bit more of that, of set up these external quests for people to do. Set up these things of okay, here's our goal. Can you all go and try and do this and try to break this? And then after you're done with that, head over here and do this. This is what we'd like to see for this test. I think that'll keep a lot more people involved and working hard and feel like they're really contributing rather than just running around and bug reporting every once in a while.
I think that's 100% it, right? And that's my thing with when I kind of refer to content. I'm not necessarily speaking to a new raid or some boats or a new class. I'm talking about specifically give us an idea of what you want. And if I'm going to log on, make a character and run around and just do quests, am I giving you the information that you need? Or do you already have that information and you're actually just kind of looking to see how many people when they PvP flag corrupted versus this versus this? Give us a little direction and I think people will be more happy to go in. And yeah, you'll still have people not go in. They'll say, well, I don't like PvP, I'm not going to go in for the PvP test. But I think a lot of people will come in and say, hey, I'm ready, I'm here for the PvP test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as I said, like even if it's not something, like even if they're somewhat false, goals, give us the goals. Make us feel like we're contributing, even if it's not necessarily something that you need to test. Just be like, here's the goals. We want people to go over here and do this, go over here and do this, and maybe a lot of that is fleshed out. But as long as you're giving those overarching goals, feel like it really helps people make. It really helps make people feel like they're a part of something, if that makes sense. And
Saturday at 4 p.m., Steven's going to lead everyone against the Elder Dragon of Flame, and we're not giving out talismans this time.
Yes.
So if you want to be part, and we're going to record it for the next live stream. So if you want to be part of that, level up your character, get your gear, and get your talisman taken care of, and then go in there and you can be there with us to do it. Something like that, I think would be somewhat of a motivator to get people to log in and actually give it a shot.
And at the end of these, say we're having a siege test on Saturday. We're not leveling everyone up. If you want to participate, you need to be level 12. Here are sign-up sheets. Every guild can go sign up. We are going to force, instead of it just being at random, we are going to, force, basically, here's the signups. You can sign up now, but we may choose where you're going to go to get even teams. Give everyone these goal-oriented motivation stuff to go forward with. I don't think it's that much extra work on their part. And I think it'll really get people involved and really help people feel like they're a part of something.
Super's just sitting here disagreeing with us so much right now. He's just like, he's just seething. He's at the point, but so here's something I'm going to ask you, Super. I get that testers fall off, right? But if we still need bodies in here to test, what is the solution? Let's say we need 1,000 people concurrent this month, and we're only at 400. And alphas are open. It's not like we can send out more keys to more testers.
Right.
It's $500. The people that are in are in. No one's going to just be like, oh, well, they need more testers. Well, then I'll spend my $500. And they certainly can't give access to anyone because that would make all the people that did purchase the $500 for testing upset. So what can they do now to bring more people in to get the numbers that they need in this scenario where we need another 500 average people per week?
I mean, my solution would be one that I would suspect that most people would not like, except for the people who would be granted that access. But I debating whether or not I actually even want to say it.
Say it. Come on, be controversial. That's what we're here for.
I think that Intrepid, if numbers are an issue, I think Intrepid should reach out to Truth. I think Intrepid should reach out. Sorry, I forgot your other co-GM's name.
Angel.
Angel, thank you. Sim, Jalon, those are just the GMs that I know off the top of my head here. But reach out to these big, substantial, has a presence and say, hey, do you guys have people within your community who are either unwilling to pay $500 for access or can't, but you know that they would make a good tester and somebody who would be playing and be consistent, and leave that kind of more at the discretion, whether it be at the GM or or the GM gives recommendation. Those, yes, I understand that people, including myself, who have spent 500 plus amounts of money on the game.
Some money, just a bit.
Some.
I don't necessarily think we actually talked about this earlier as well in Virtue. I put my money into Trepid. I didn't necessarily put my money in to get into the game.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
And I know, and and
we're
I
not
think
talking about us here. We're talking about
Right.
the average person, the person who isn't invested as we are. All that.
Right. Well, even if somebody has put as much money in, but they more view it as like, I bought this, I have the right to this, and that means that nobody else has the right to it unless they spend the same amount of money. I don't agree with that mindset. If the game needs more testers, then we need to get more testers. And if that ruffles some feathers, then it ruffles some feathers. But the reality is, if the game is going to be as successful as it possibly can be, and testers is what's holding that back from potentially happening, then I don't care. Shit all over my $500.
And here's a cool
want the game
idea
to be good.
that chat just proposed.
Yeah,
what
I
if
just
you
saw
give
that.
every alpha tester, say, okay, you have basically 2 weeks of game time you can give away, like 2 single week game times, and you can give that away to anyone you choose.
I like that. I think that's just as good as randomly creating a metric and going into all these people that are streaming it and saying, hey, we're going to give you a key for the rest of this test because we don't have enough people. We're going to, if you have 100 people or less, we're going to give you 3 keys. If you have 100 to 500, we're going to give you 7 keys.
Yeah.
If you have more than that, we'll give you 10
And
do a
people-
giveaway.
And people will definitely sell those keys, but those keys aren't worth that much when there's 10,000 people out there. But it also puts the agency on the person who spent the $500 on the key. That way they're not upset. They got a chance to invite their friends. It's on them as opposed to, this just, oh, everyone got this suddenly.
I still think it should be, even in that instance, I think it should be kind of gate kept through GMs or Phoenix Initiatives or
Okay, what about content creators? Should that be a thing?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I was going to say I don't agree. I don't think content creators should be a part of that.
Well, let me clarify. I don't think it should be content creators in the form of a giveaway, because
that's what it's going to. Yeah, that's what it's going to be.
That's not gatekeeping. That's just allowing the content creator to have a giveaway to get more views on their page. That's a benefit to the content creator, not a benefit to the game necessarily.
Here's what I'm going to give you a counterpoint real quick, and then I'm going to let you continue. But the people that are tuning in to watch these content creators on the whole do not have alpha access, but are interested enough that they probably would get into the game if given it.
Sure. So Def's not Paco, for example. I don't know if they're in the testing or not. Let's say that they're not. Let's say that they're consistently coming into either Bard's or Fane's stream, and that as a streamer, that they're constantly asking questions, they're constantly in here, they're raising good points, and they've also expressed that they don't have access to the testing. That's something as a content creator you can go, hey, I was given 10 keys. You're not saying this publicly, but you're just saying it to yourself. Def's not Paco, always brings up really valid points. I'm going to go ahead and give a key to him or her, sorry, them, to come into the testing. That's the benefit I see to giving it to content creators, is that they have more of a general community pulse on people who are interested, who might not be a part of a guild. I think that the guild is just one way to do it, but giving it to content creators and then allowing it to be a giveaway, you may as well just do a random lottery for keys at that point. But if the content creator can go, hey, I got 3 people in my community who I think would be really great testers. They've been in every stream. I know they don't have access. I know that they're not going to sell it. I know that they're going to come in, they're going to play, and they're going to test the shit out of the game. That's the benefit I see of giving it to content creators.
But here's the issue, and as a content creator, obviously, and I know you are too, Super, but you're not as focused. That creates some disparity because other viewers and people are going to get upset that you didn't choose them.
And don't tell them. Why do they have to know?
It's gonna become like there's no way it doesn't become kind of obvious. People are like, "Oh, how'd you
Yeah.
get into testing?" They're gonna
That
see
that
names.
stuff will
They're
come
gonna,
out. They'll
yeah,
they'll see Discord PMs, or someone who isn't as mature will brag about it and say, "Oh my god, they let me in. Ha 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 ha."
Well, then you gave the key to the wrong person. I don't know what to tell you.
But that doesn't solve the problem. So just
Yeah.
because the content creator fucks up doesn't solve the problem, and you didn't necessarily even give it to the wrong person. If they're going to put in 40 hours over the next week, that's not necessarily the wrong person. It's just someone who's also
So
a little bit immature and not as subtle.
yeah. So how do you? I mean, how do you stop that person from be like? You have to be in there. You can't tell anyone you're in there, and you can't use your name, and also we can't talk about it on stream. And it's just and you have to play by yourself basically because everyone's gonna know you. As soon as you're a part of a major guild and you got in suddenly, people are gonna be like, "How the fuck did that happen?" And then there's no way you hide the fact that they gave out a bunch of keys and you were able to choose people. It's gonna come out. It's the internet. It's gonna come out, and
that's fair. That's fair. My mindset is I kind of don't care. If I was doing Ash's doing Ash's streaming as consistently as you guys were, and let's say that situation happened, hey, Super TCG, here's 5 keys, or they said, all content creators, give us an email, tell us how many keys you think you could actually actively give out. Let's say I emailed back saying, 3 keys, please. I got 3 people in mind that I want to give keys to. Here's their names, here's their emails. I've already contacted them.
So I like something.
I don't think that I understand what you guys are saying, but that's listening to the wrong portion, in my opinion. That's listening to sorry, everybody. It's listening to the crybabies. It's listening to the ones who are going to whine about it. I don't care. I don't listen to those people anyways.
Unfortunately, that comes down that can backfire on you. And I do understand what you're saying. I don't like to, I don't want to deal with any of that either, but it can backfire on you. What I would say is there's a very good thing that was brought up in chat by Acoustic. And generally we don't acknowledge chat, but you guys have been on point tonight, so thank you for that. But Intrepid could just ask each content creator, each guild leader for names. And then Intrepid hands out the keys to whoever they choose. They'd pick however many of the names they want. No one knows where those keys came from. Done.
Yeah.
And then you can be like, if anyone bitches moaned, I put your name on my list. They didn't choose you. That's not on me.
Or even, if you're going to just kind of blanket it out like that, screw it. I need 500 average testers. We probably need then about 2,500 new bodies into the alpha. So Intrepid tweets out, we're giving away 2,500 keys. We're going to retweet us, and then we'll randomly select you. Mm-hmm. You think that wouldn't have 5,000 retweets in an instant? It would absolutely.
That's good marketing.
It would totally be there, and you would just get your bodies, and then you would forego all of this other stuff.
Yeah, but then you're getting into the issue we talked about earlier, where the people who already have alpha keys would get upset.
You're going to make someone upset, no matter what scenario we go. You're going to make someone. I didn't get as many keys because I'm a smaller content creator. They got more keys because they're bigger. I didn't get on the guild because I'm not in a guild. This person's not in a guild, so why would they necessarily have priority for testing?
I only give names of people who have donated at least 5,000 subs to my channel.
Yeah,
that seems super reasonable, actually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So get on that, guys.
Well, I think maybe my approach of I don't give a shit is also seeing how, even within WoW is their beta. I say beta because they really don't ever change anything between their beta and launch. It's more just a promotional tool. But whenever I remember it with Legion, World of Warcraft Legion expansion, they had a huge beta key push. All of the big streamers within the WoW community, the bigger you were, the more keys you had. I think that stuff just happens. It's the way it is. I hate to break it to you guys, but I don't think that you guys, if some kind of alpha, 1 key giveaway were to happen, I don't think you guys should have the same number of potential keys to give out as say Asmongold. Like, and I think you guys would agree with that. Like, that's just logical.
Disagree entirely. I should have more. I have more hair than he does. Why would I not have more keys? Those two things are directly related.
Yeah. I personally think Steven should have spent all his time in game this weekend with me. I don't know why he was watching Asmongold's stream. I'm way better than he is.
Makes literally no sense. Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever.
I mean, I would also like to point out that Asmon is the first non-dev to fucking fly. So
that's fair. That's fair.
At least to my knowledge. To my knowledge, but yeah. Can I get that key? Oh my gosh, dude! Just Legion beta, just key farm.
Yeah,
it was horrible. It was horrible. And everybody would get the key and just sell it. I mean, you go to eBay and like all those keys were being sold for like $100, $75 and stuff like that. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster. So, but I do like the idea of having Intrepid send it out. Hey, GMs, hey, content creators. Well, do you have people within your community that stick out to you? And we can give them direct access.
Yeah.
Remove all of the other bullshit.
More than a random giveaway, I do like the idea of reaching out to those who have been very active, very involved, whether that be content creators, guild leaders, mods who, have seen a lot of activity, get their feedback and actually get people in who are committed to this game, are going to be good testers. I do like that aspect a lot more than random giveaways. It's just, how do you go about doing that without, and as I said, you guys said it, someone is always going to be pissed off, but you always want to kind of analyze, how can we piss the least amount of people off? That should always be your take on it, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's damage control, right? And this kind of gets back to our earlier discussion of, Intrepid needs a little bit of damage control. Their communication is a little bit disingenuous, I think, is the best way that I can say it. I'm not saying that they aren't telling the truth. I'm not saying that they're not coming at it with the best intentions, but sometimes their communication can be slightly disingenuous. And it's something like this for the community, I think, would be actually pretty huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, before they give away any keys to content creators or anything like that, they need to get their official content creator list out, right? That's definitely got to happen first before they give away any keys. Because if they start giving away keys to content creators and they haven't released the official list for now, that's going to cause some drama and some issues, and people are going to be complaining, well, why the hell is this person getting it? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, there's going to be drama as soon as that list is posted. I am ready for that shitstorm.
There's going to be hurt feelings. There's going to be people that aren't friends with other people. There's going to be, there's going to be people that take the position, with their nose in the air. And there's going to be people that just don't, really care and just keep plugging away. So, and that's kind of like what we talked about earlier. When you get bad news, keep plugging away, guys. Keep plugging away.
Do you get back up or do you bitch and moan? Like, what are you gonna do? Because I have high hopes that I'm gonna make official content creator. As I said, that's how I set my own goals. I set really high expectations. I would say there's a very good chance I won't get it as well. I do understand that, and if I don't get it, I'm not upset. I mean, well, I am upset. Let's be real. I want it. Anytime you don't get something you want, you're upset. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm going to say that, if I get rejected, I'm going to be very open and honest about it. Be like, I did not get official content creator. This is I'm pretty upset. I put in a lot of work. I really wanted this, but hey, I understand where they're coming from. And hopefully they'll provide me constructive feedback with that. I'm going to say, I'm going to keep working towards this. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
And that's why I set my goals high, because I can accept that failure and keep pushing forward. And I think that's...
So going back...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wanted to kind of bring it back because I think that we brushed this topic and then we, as we tend to do on this show, got way off into netherward. But what can we do? First of all, do you guys think we have enough testers? Let's start there. Let's go even higher level. Do we have enough people testing for what they want to accomplish right now?
Yes.
I think right now, yes. I think 2 weeks from now, no. But that's speculation, right?
When these It'll be interesting to see. I'm really curious to see like these big streamers that are in quote unquote testing when their community is burnt out from seeing what we currently have for 4 days a week for the last 3 weeks, and they're going to say, hey, can you go back to playing Fortnite? Can you go back to playing Apex Legends? Can you go back to playing whatever you built your community on? I'm really curious to see, once that hype kind of falls off, who's still around, and will we have enough then? Will we have enough people in the game testing then?
So right now, yes, I think we actually have enough because we have multiple servers. And we've had 2 servers, I believe today. We had 2 servers at high, 1 at medium, and then 2 at low. In my head, if we can have 1 server up and at high, we have a good amount of testers. Whether that's what Steven and Intrepid actually want, I don't know. Outside looking in, I feel like as long as you can populate 1 server to a medium or high level, I feel like you would have enough testers. You would just have to be again, the communication side, you have to be very specific. Hey, we need you to go test this. And I do think that has happened. I mean, just look at the AI controller bug. The only way that we were able to test that was just to go out in the world and do stuff, kill mobs, loot things, because that's what the problem was. And I think we will get more specified testing as time goes on when we have things to specifically test. We don't have things to specifically test right now.
Yeah, I would disagree.
I'm going to keep going here.
Yeah.
From the 2-week side or the 3-week side or whatnot, we're going to have people fall off. But I think one of the benefits of there being wipes throughout this month-long test is it will allow people to go, hey, like what Virtue did with the last weekend test, the weekend test, is we're like, hey, we didn't really have a lot of people on Norlon that we're used to. Let's go ahead and consolidate over to Lyneth because we know Lyneth is always populated. That will, with those wipes, it will allow people to go, hey, I don't have my character anymore, so I can go ahead and go to this server that has a lot more people. And so I think if we can get a lot more consolidation, that maybe they drop a server or 2 to force people into a more condensed space. I think that we will actually have enough testers throughout the month. Where I see major drop-off numbers of testing of even the people who are consistent, and to include the content creators or myself who just enjoys testing because I love punishing myself, apparently.
I mean, you're a Pokemon card collector. Of course you love
right. Of course you love you.
Maybe I'll get the shiny out of my character creator this time.
Yeah. 4,000
But-
resets or encounters before some fucking shiny shows up. God damn.
Yep. So I mean, I overall I think we'll have enough. Where I see it coming down to where we're not having enough testers is if we have gone 6 months and we are on the same build that we're currently on, because I guarantee you by that 6th month you're gonna have like 5 testers.
Yeah.
But I also don't see the game moving in that direction. Knock on wood. But that so to answer your question, I do think we have enough testers. Is it to the extent that Intrepid wants? I don't know, but
And I kind of fundamentally disagree with you on one thing, and that is that 1 server full of testers, in my opinion, is very much not enough.
Agreed.
I think you need 3 to 4 fairly full, because with the way things go, with how nodes change and different, like with how every node leveling up is different and stuff like that, at a certain point you need to test those interactions, and you need to do multiple iterations of that. I mean, we should probably be doing it now, right? Like, the issue is with how low experience is and what quests we have, only Winstead ever levels up. So how, like, we've never actually gotten a test of what happens if Miss Meyer becomes the vassal node, or it becomes the node giving vassals to everything else. We don't know if that's going to break. We don't know what's happening. Like, with how crazy and how every single server is different in this game, and how all these interactions could just break things completely, you need to have a shitload of testers testing all kinds of different iterations. And so I would say, yeah, I personally think we need a lot more testers. And obviously, that's especially we're not at that stage yet. Maybe I think there's a plenty of issues to fix before we address that. But I think we're going to need that. And Alpha 2 will see a huge influx. But once again, if Alpha 2 doesn't have the content to keep people involved, you're going to see that strong fall off. And then with Alpha 2, it's persistent. So I mean, you're gonna once again gonna have to direct people, right? You're gonna have to direct people to say, okay, we need to test some new nodes. Let's go siege this node. We need to take down this node so we can do a new one. That's
Well,
kind of
and to kind of iterate
yeah.
upon that, like that the first weekend that since the alpha packs went on sale and we had a bunch of people in, we were on Lilith and our goal was to level up Elion. We were up there grinding Elion like it was going out of style.
Yeah, we
I
had
think that
Envious and us up there, like two
Envious
very large
and us.
guilds.
Two of the largest guilds in testing, grinding hard. And then it comes out like a day and a half later, they're like, something broke and none of these nodes will level up to level 3. So we're just going to manually level up, Drythorn, Mistmire, and Winstead to level 3 so you guys can experience more content. And so if you had that on one server, or if you had a server where that didn't happen, you couldn't replicate that on another server if you only had one server. So that's why I think that you are seeing things when people do different things. Right now, I think everyone's very much in the same boat. Everyone does their quests, everyone does the crypt, the cave, they go to Winstead and do some stuff. They head over to Nala and level up. And then you start to see a little bit of diversity when they spread out. But with the current, quote unquote meta, because gamers always find a meta, Drythorn is not getting the experience it should. Mistmire is not getting the experience it should. Trader's Rock leveled up to level 1 on Lilith today. I was shocked. I've honestly, I've seen that be a level 2 node one time in 7-8 months of testing now. It just doesn't happen normally. So there's very specific things that are going on, and I think that if they had multiple builds with quests in different areas, it would lend itself to, at the very least, getting different iterations of how the world is being interacted with.
And I to clarify, I'm not saying that more testers is bad. I'm saying that the minimum is one populated server. And as to what you were saying, Bard, yeah, you give the testers direction. I mean, we've already said that multiple times tonight. I don't think there's an issue with us, looking at the AOC Discord and going, okay, they want us to go level up Moon Hollow, or they want us to go level up Trader's Rock. That if that's what they've requested, that is what we should go do as testers. Again, if we have 3 servers that are able to sustain the numbers and have all of that, because on the flip side, if we have tester fall off, which we do, a server, for example, Norlon was basically populated by like 2 or 3 guilds at one point, and one of those guilds has basically fallen down from roughly 50 to 100 members. I know that's a wide spread. I don't know exactly how much they actually peaked to basically like 10 people who are still testing. So most of Norlon has now migrated over to Lilith. And so that server in essence is dead. And so now that server isn't giving any really good feedback or information. But all of it comes down to the communication. If they want us to test something specific, then tell us to test that specific thing. I mean, to what you were talking about Trader's Rock, that it actually kind of made me laugh a little bit inside, because when I was with Legacy, we always went to Trader's Rock. We always tested Trader's Rock. That was the only place we ever went, and it was always the first thing to get to level 3. So it's just funny to see how like the flow of it. And I mean, it just speaks to the different server and how that's going to be at launch, and it's going to be really cool. But I think I think it's able to be worked around in a way of giving us direction. But I just think that the direction right now is just be on. Like, even though we're doing the podcast right now, the fact that our characters are loaded into the game in a random place in the world, we are actually providing more feedback to Intrepid than somebody who's not logged into the game.
We're adding to the that's population. Definitely true. But as I said, we are going to have fall off, and that was the whole point. And So someone in chat was like, "It sounds like you guys are super negative about this game," and that's definitely not true. We are all super positive about this game. I mean, but we are hype about this game, but we want to help it succeed. So our point here is what we've been talking about is, okay, I see this potentially being an issue moving forward. What is the best way to go about this? What is the best way to fix this? What is this action like? So if this becomes, and this may not be an issue. Hey, maybe with the stream hype and all that, they can always every once in a while just say, "Hey, Asmon, would you mind, coming and testing and bringing all your fan base to come back, log back on?" Maybe none of this is an issue. But if it does become an issue where we're seeing a lot of fall off because we've seen it in the past, what is the best way about going to get a bunch more people involved? And that's all we're discussing here. And that's always the point is, okay, because let's be real, there are going to be problems moving forward. Nothing, it's not just like everything goes perfect and we have no issues with anything and we just have a successful game launch. We're not in Neverland here. The good guy doesn't always win. Like there is potential this game isn't even gonna be what we're promised. Like we're hoping they can accomplish all these complicated systems in game. But hey, if we don't bring up the issues and the problems and the potential things that might happen, we're not doing our job of trying to successfully or trying to help make this game successful. So the point is, bring up the issues now, see if we can avoid having them in the future, and then if they do happen in the future, have an actionable solution to them.
And I think that's the big thing that we're crying out for. And I know that I've heard it within my community and within Axiom is let us know what you want. A little communication. What got fixed? Did we even fix anything? If we didn't fix anything, I get that that's a little discouraging, but a little communication. Hey, we're making great progress on X, Y, and Z. Keep doing A, B, and C to get there. Or here's what we fixed. Here's what you're going to see. Look at this new system. When they introduced the queue system, this is how I think hungry people are to actually help. When they introduced the queue system, I had people in Axiom waiting to log in until it said hi. Then they literally backed out anytime they got in until they hit a queue because they were excited to see what the queue system looked like. Imagine an MMO gamer being excited to see a queue when logging into a game, right? So that kind of stuff. I just want I'm with them on that. I just want a little information as to what's going on. Throw us a bone. Give us a little hint because so far all we get and what it really feels like is we get a little bit of a hint as to what's going on sort of once a month in the live stream. And I think you can give the testers a little bit more than that. I think that they always say the MMO community is a little bit older. I think the MMO community is a little bit more mature. I think you could, we can take a hit. If you're going to give us a hit, we can take a hit. We're ready for it.
Yeah. All right. So I want to talk about this. What do you guys think about siege testing moving forward? What would you like to see changed? How does it feel good right now? And this is a little bit of theory crafting, right? Like not what it is right now versus what you would like to see. I'm not talking about the current problems, the current bugs, anything like that. What would you like to see moving forward to really kind of, I guess, capture your attention and make it super fun and super dynamic and crazy?
In terms of like testing it, really?
No, I mean like ultimate final product.
Oh, ultimate final product. I mean, I would love to see. First of all, I think if they really wanted to tease it, so let me talk about marketing right now. I think if they wanted to tease it, because we've heard 2 abilities, right? Unless maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys have heard something I haven't, but we've heard 8 summoners can get together and make a giant siege golem, and 8 tanks can get together and put up a giant wall that can stop a bunch of damage coming in. I would love for them to iterate upon what some of the other classes could do. They could drop 2 a week and have the community abuzz for literally the next month. I think something like that would be amazing and would play really well.
Okay. Well, how do you stop a meta from forming then? Like this is the best way to get into a siege.
There's no meta if there's before the game launches. There's a perceived meta, but in practice, there's no meta.
Yeah.
There just really isn't. Absolutely. Or even here's another one. Let's start showing off the siege equipment that you can make. You know, we've seen the trebuchets on attack and the ballistas on defense. Let's start showing off some of the other, some of the other toys that you're bringing to the party, and then people can give feedback on it. Like, hey, that looks like it would be awkward to use. That looks like it wouldn't be as much fun to use. Or, hey, this over here looks amazing. I can hardly wait to have that. What if it had giant spikes coming out of the side and people couldn't attack it?
Hmm. Yeah. And that's definitely. Do you guys think that all walls are going to be demolishable at some point versus gates? Or do you think it's literally going to be where it's at right now with 3 gates? Those are the entrance points, and you have to focus those and get them down to get in.
If all the walls are demolishable, um, I think that there needs to be kind of a strategic advantage or benefit for focusing a gate instead of a wall.
Huh.
I mean, a gate,
Yeah, I think that's a
should be
given.
should be weaker or something like that. I don't necessarily. I'm trying to make sure I'm not like mixing up New World and and Ashes here.
Well, no, Ashes at
Um,
one point it said and shown some
Yeah.
videos of complete, building destruction, and it seemed like walls and like everything within the siege and the castle siege was gonna be destructible.
Yeah, and I do remember that, and I think I was just trying to mull through it and make sure that I was remembering that from Ashes. Um, I I mean, if that the direction they go, then yeah, I mean, to I guess answer the question quickly, I guess we would see it. I mean, I don't know. um,
Yeah.
It would be
I just
fun.
don't know if that's still on track or not. Like as of right
Yeah.
now, it doesn't seem like it. And once again, this is the communication thing. And I guess if they tell us, hey, here's where we're at with these things. Our ultimate goal is this. But like also give us a list of things that like, hey, if we're falling behind and we really need to get the game out, here's what we're dropping. And I think fully destructible castles would be one of those. And I'd be okay, as long as you still make the siege fun and interactive. Hey, if that's what you're dropping, when the shit hits the storm, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, Guild Wars 2 does an amazing job of that, right? You can go through the door, you can go through the wall. I think something like that would be really amazing to see, but I mean, would I be okay with them dropping it? Yeah, for the time being, and then maybe introducing a new siege mechanic down the road that would allow you to then go through walls if they could eventually get that progress back.
Mm-hmm.
So based on the wiki side of it, it's kind of leading me to believe that the walls themselves will not be necessarily destructible. Now, it does allude more towards node attacks than it does castle sieges. But the things that it points out is no destruction, housing destruction, and ship destructibility. And that's under the destructible environments. So I mean, that doesn't speak directly to the castle siege, but even within a node siege, like basically saying that you will have kind of the opportunity to kind of target specific things within a node, and then that node kind of loses the benefit of that building or whatever, maybe it's a blacksmith and now your weapon repairs have gone down or something like that. I don't know, but um, I don't. I mean, I say that, and there's literally a picture of a wall being destroyed right next to it. So
yeah, I mean,
it's just a lot. It's a lot of mixed messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's like if we're gonna be in the public eye, we're all way more invested than the public is right now with the NDA drop. I think we just keep coming back to that. We would like to see more weekly updates, a little bit of hey, and we're adults, we're big boys. We can handle hey, we're maybe thinking about not doing this anymore, but give us reasons, right? Just like we give you actionable criticism, you want us to give you criticism, but also say not just like, be like, it's not happening, but give us a reason why, go into it in a little bit more depth. I guess that, I mean, and that's the thing. That's like my only real criticism of Intrepid. Like everything else they're doing is amazing. They're doing great community management. They're, I don't see, like, I guess maybe you guys have something else, but honestly, that's the only thing I'd like to see really change is like a lot more upfront communication. And it goes right along with their philosophy of, I would like to see, we want open development. It's like, okay, well, if we're going to be open with you, you need to be open back as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's my big thing here is that I support Intrepid. I love the project. I love everyone over there. And I get that everyone over there is doing the damned best that they can. But a little bit more transparency, or not even transparency as much as open communication, and just be honest. And even if someone asks a question and say, we're not ready to talk about that yet, that's a fine answer. I'm super happy with that answer. But just let me know that that's the answer.
I'd like to see progress bars. I think it would actually be kind of cool to see an alpha, whatever test we're about to go into. So for example, alpha, in alpha 1 now officially, I'd like to see maybe a progress bar of different things that they're trying to get implemented into alpha 2 and show, hey, nodes are 50% complete where we want them to be at. Again, not 50% complete as in ready to launch, but
for moving on to the next stage.
Yeah, this is where we want it to be. It's 50% there. It's 75% there. And they can make a really cool visual out of that. And it can be something they can tweet out. It can be, it gives the content creator stuff to talk about. It's a little bit of a fun way to give feedback.
You're gamifying the system for a bunch of gamers. How can that go wrong, right?
Right.
That's
like
perfect.
It sounds perfect.
That's what you want.
Well, and that's kind of giving a roadmap, right? So if you had these, like a progress bar or an experience bar, so you've got all the things that you want tested and looking good in Alpha 1, and you could say, this, we're at 75%. This, we're at 12%. This, we haven't even tested yet. And so people could say, oh, this is something to look forward to. Okay, well then I know, and this is kind of going back to the very first point that we made, I know that I want to work on this bar here. I want to help with, testing mobs and testing the AI controller bugs so that we can squash that to the point that once that's squashed, I can now move on to the next thing because I'm making progress to the thing that I'm really excited to see and really excited to test.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, Intrepid.
Boom. Solving problems for Intrepid one podcast at a time.
I mean, you've seen it here. You should probably just be paying us, guys. Like, come on.
Seems super reasonable.
I think a minimum salary about $250,000 a month is fair.
Yeah, that seems. We'll even chop that. Honestly, we'll
I mean, that's the starting
I was gonna
point,
say
right?
each.
Yeah.
I was gonna say each, but like we'll chop that 3 ways. That's fine.
Yeah. That's fine. 3 ways is just fine.
but we're only doing that because we love you guys. Also, we expect the cosmetics each month to be in our accounts.
I would also like a 10% stake in the company of Intrepid. I think that's very fair.
And I'm over here just like, listen, just send me the peripherals that all the content creators are going to
I definitely want that.
We'll call it even.
We'll do, instead of 10% in Intrepid, we'll do 30% in the trading card game. Don't worry, guys. We already have fully fleshed out for you. So we've already got that one on lockdown. Don't worry about that.
On that note, Steven, I want, like, you better give me my own allocation of boxes, because if you release a trading card game,
Oh, the pack breaks are going to be so much fun.
Oh
my god, the 3 of us doing a pack break. Oh my god,
pack wars, baby, pack wars.
Pack wars.
Yeah. Oh man. But what I would say, guys, is with that silly shenanigans, we are winding down our stream here. We're coming to the end of the show. We generally go for approximately 2 hours, and we're getting to that point. I think we've reached a good point to kind of wind it down and end it. What we are going to do is hop into my Discord here. We're going to do a little post-show brief. So we'll take 5 to 10 minutes to just talk about amongst ourselves in our private channel about the show. But we encourage all you guys, come join us, come chat, come have a good time. Feel free to pop a beer, anything like that. Why don't we go around and do outros? So why don't we start with It's Fane, and here's his shout out.
Guys, it's Fane. This weekend I'm going to be doing a 48-hour. No, I'm definitely not doing that again. Never again, guys. It's Fane.com. Follow me. All my socials are there. We're streaming a lot of Ashes of Creation. We got a bunch of YouTube stuff coming. Check me out.
All right, super.
Hi, I'm Super TCG.
Oh my god.
If you want to
Super
follow,
entertaining content creator.
if you want to follow me and watch me open up Pokemon card packs and stream Ashes of Creation when my daughter isn't breathing down my neck, come over to Super TCG. No, for real though. Well, for real though, everything I just said, just more upbeat. I was like, I actually don't really have much more to add to that. I do want to shout out the YouTube. Go over to the two guys in a bard YouTube and drop a subscribe over there. Check out the videos. We have the full past episodes and also kind of clips that we pulled out from that, roughly kind of 9 to 15-ish minutes is where we try to keep it. So check that out. We did those kind of smaller clips to make it, a lot more digestible. You guys can share that out to your friends. Yeah, that's kind of it there. But
yeah, and I'm Bardic. You guys are on my channel. I'm posting almost daily YouTube videos as well, so go check those out. It seems like people are really enjoying those. Thanks for the shout out on my own channel. Yeah, just what we needed.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it every week.
If you guys did enjoy the content tonight, definitely drop me a follow, and then go support all these other guys. Friday nights, Super and I do Pokemon card pack battles. So we each open a booster box or 25 packs of Pokemon cards, and whoever comes out with the highest value, the biggest pulls wins. It's a lot of fun. We also tend to drink during those, but I think Super's off of drinking at least for a little while till the wifey is back. And yeah, it's a good time. But as I said, really appreciate everyone hanging out here. Definitely go check out, as I said, the Two Guys in a Bard YouTube channel. We're trying to get it off the ground. It takes some people to be interested in it and all of that so that the algorithm starts working in our favor. But anyway, does anyone have anyone we should raid tonight? I was thinking maybe D Phantom here.
Let's raid D Phantom.
Okay.